Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 57 of Buds and Blue Jays. I'm your host, Jesse Burrell, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Riley McConnell. And Riley, while I was watching the Blue Jays play down in Arlington here, I was kind of wondering, when was the last time we played in Texas? And I looked back up to it. It was early last year. I think it was our first road trip of the season, Riley. And can you name before the series, the last Toronto Blue Jays pitcher to make a start in Texas?
The last Toronto Blue Jays pitcher, and it was last year?
Yeah, early last year.
Oh, boy. I'm diving deep. I know you said be prepared. I think it's a guy we forget about. Is it Hyun-Jin Ryu?
It's not Hyun-Jin Ryu. He did pitch in that series, but he didn't pitch in Game 3, Riley. It was Tanner Roark, who was making he was DFA'd right after that start. It was his last start as a Toronto Blue Jay. So that makes it feel like it's been a long time since the Blue Jays have been back to Texas.
Yeah, well, we had, I think, Shoemaker and Tanner Roark and Chase Anderson all at one point. Yeah. Not the start. If we look back on that now, and I know you just laughed, but man, is it ever good to have guys like Manoah come up through the pipeline and sign key pieces like Gausman, because those are, talk about two different worlds apart in the rotation. I'm quite happy with how that worked out. But yeah, wouldn't have guessed. I thought you were going to sneak a Ryu by me. You think I forgot the big left-handed, number 99, but nope, I couldn't pull out Roark.
The point of that was to say it's been a long time since the Blue Jays had come to Texas, and this team is very different now than the team it was then. But we got lots to get through on our episode here today, Riley. Boba Shett stays red hot. He keeps on doing it. Jay's got some big clutch hits from some unexpected sources, and we have to give our takes on the new rule changes that Major League Baseball go into effect next year. But Riley, Jays went down to Texas, and we messed with them, winning 2 out of 3, just like we thought they would. I know some of us thought it would be a sweep, but 2 out of 3 series win, 8-2 road trip. That's a success.
Man, I felt good. I predicted the last series pretty good. I woke up this morning and felt real good. That we had a real good shot to sweep the series. A lineup card comes out, and we selected the pitchers we did, and it could have gone either way. But Jesse, at the end of the day, our bats went cold in Game 3. But man, did it feel like we were just as hot as the weather was in Texas, man. We were on absolute fire at the dish the first 2 games. Game 3, whatever. Yeah, you know what? We were in 10 games on the road trip. We took 8 of them. Yep. You can't get too much better than that. Obviously, going 10 for 10 would be perfect in the perfect world. But Jesse, I'll take 8 wins out of 10 games any day of the week.
Absolutely. Game 1 of this series, the Jays won that game 4-3. The Jays got off to a 3-0 lead in the third, thanks to another home run from Boba Shett. Texas was able to tie it up in the 8th, but Danny Jansen had a clutch RBI single in the top of the 9th to give the Blue Jays the lead. Rymal Tapia reached base 3 times, and Matt Chapman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Boba Shett, and Danny Jansen all had multiple hits. Jordan Romano worked a clean 9th inning to get his 32nd save of the season. In Game 2, the Jays won this game 11-7. Jays scored 4 in the first inning for just the second time this year, ended up leading 11-3 after 4 innings. Every single Blue Jay in the lineup got on base, and Danny Jansen, Santiago Espinal, and Boba Shett got on base 4 times. It's the 9th time this year the Blue Jays scored double-digit runs. And Game 3, the game that just finished up here, the Rangers won this game 4-1 over the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays had base runners on in every inning except for the first, but just did not get a hit with a runner in scoring position all game. It's the first time in the last 12 games that they've scored less than 4 runs. And it was a bullpen day. As you mentioned, Trevor Richards struggled. Yusei Kikuchi gave up a 2-run home run. And I don't want to blame the umpires here, Riley, because the Jays simply just didn't hit. But they had 10 pitches outside of the strike zone called for strikes today, which is the 3rd most the Blue Jays have had in a game all year. So as things stand, the Blue Jays are 78-61. We're 6 games back of the Yankees. We're tied with Seattle with their game still in progress right now. They're currently leading 4-1 over the Braves. And we're half a game behind Tampa Bay. So that's where we stand going into this big series coming up. But yeah, lots of takeaways, Riley. Who gets your first one? Who are we going to talk about first?
I mean, I don't know. We can't change our name from Buds and Blue Jays, but just in an asterisk for the last couple of episodes, you might as well call us the Bo Show. That's right. We're here standing again, talking about Boba Shett, number 11, shortstop for our Toronto Blue Jays. Man, what can you say about this guy other than he has been the hottest player? I don't know if Trout's going to win Player of the Week. He does have 5 home runs in that many games or whatever. But if it's not Trout and winning his 25th probably Player of the Week award, like it's got to be our guy Boba Shett. He's had an absolute monster week. He's destined for extra base hits. I saw a statistic too, and he had just been starting to pull the ball pretty well. We've been talking about that, pulling fastballs, and yet he still leads MLB in opposite field hits, which is probably no surprise to anybody. But yet, like I said last episode, he just goes where the pitch is. I mean, he has incredible bat to ball skills. He doesn't even necessarily have to make good contact. I think a lot of the home run he hit in this series to right center field, he almost looked off balance. He's just that strong. People underestimate Boba Shett's strength. He's got such good hand-eye coordination. And honestly, if you hit it in the right spot of the bat, you don't feel anything. The bat does the work. Of course, Jesse, that's a feeling you're used to. You hit dingers all the time. Boba Shett, the same deal. The guy just absolutely finds the barrel of the bat. And again, Jesse, it's a series where we scored a lot of runs, courtesy of Mr. Boba Shett. He now leads the team in RBIs. I mean, dude, he's here now. There was a long silence for Boba Shett. People wanted his head on a stake for a long time this year. And I think you can kind of go back on that and now say that Boba Shett's here. And like I said, even if he isn't the hottest player in baseball till the end of the year, I think that he's going to put up some pretty rectable numbers for the rest of this season and hopefully carry it on to postseason next year. Hopefully the rest of his Blue Jay tenor.
Riley, it's amazing what Boba Shett has done after looking at the guy we saw the first 5 months of the season. I was kind of writing off his season as we've just kind of accepted that, down year for Boba Shett. He still does some things good. He's still really young, but we're just going to scratch the season off. Let's get a fresh slate. Let's go into 2023 with a good Boba Shett. But Boba Shett is just trying to shut everybody up right now. And you mentioned a lot of it too. That home run he hit was, I think it was 16 inches off the ground, which is the lowest a pitch a Blue Jays batter has hit for a home run this year. And it's the second time Boba Shett has hit a pitch that low for a home run in his career. And we've talked about like the exit velocity numbers that come off Boba Shett's bat when he is just having a knack for finding the barrel and that thing just travels. He also hit a double, Riley, that went 394 feet off the top of the wall. And I know you mentioned it. Mike Trout hit home runs in 6 straight games, but he's still not going to win Player of the Week because Boba Shett has just been absolutely ridiculous. He had a triple here, 3 doubles to go along with his home run, Riley. Like, I'm running out of things to say about this guy at this point.
Well, we ran into a point in the season where our catcher was doing the same thing, and we're up to that point now with Boba Shett, and it's nice to be able to say good things about him. It really is. This is a guy who has been basically deemed our franchise shortstop for a guy who was never supposed to be the shortstop or whatever they said about his arm. Like he's got the swagger and the poise going for him now, Jesse, man. Like you can't get more confident than what Boba Shett has showcased in this. And yeah, there's still the detriment, the bad thing of Boba Shett chasing pitches. But if you're hitting him for extra bases, like, I don't really care. Yeah, those sliders he's swinging in the other batter's box is not pretty, but a little off the plate and he's going yard on those pitches, then yeah, dude, I'll take it. I'll take the lack of walks for the extra base hits.
He's been doing that a lot less recently too. That was a big problem for him early in the year, and there were a few, like Boba Shett was the culprit of some of those balls that were outside of the zone called strikes today, and he was visibly upset at a large frequency of them, which means he is seeing them a lot better. His plate discipline is a lot better. If he knows these are balls and being called strike, and he knows right away. Absolute great sign from Boba Shett. I'm sure, Riley, we're going to talk about him next series because he's just going to keep it going up here. Let's move on to another hitter here, though, who impressed me. And how about Danny Jansen, Riley? Jansen seems to just go on these spurts here where he'll do nothing, and then boom, out of nowhere. He went 6 for 9 this series, including a 435-foot home run that left his bat 109.3 miles per hour. And now that the Blue Jays have called up Gabriel Moreno, the Jays can now field a lineup that has both Alejandro Kirk and Danny Jansen in it, as long as George Springer is healthy enough to play in center field. He doesn't have to DH. Danny Jansen should be playing. He now has a 126 WRC plus on the season, Riley, which is 7th best out of all catchers in Major League Baseball. Kirk is still number 1 for what it's worth, but he is ahead of guys like JT Realmuto, Sean Murphy, and Salvador Perez. Danny Jansen's hard hit rate, Riley, 3rd best on the team, behind only Teoscar Hernandez and Matt Chapman. The problem with Jansen, though, is when he's not making hard contact, he's making too much soft contact, a lot of pop-ups, a lot of soft ground balls. It's an all or nothing approach from Danny Jansen. And when you're getting a lot of the all and not so much of the nothing, absolute great hitter. I wish he was in the lineup more.
Well, it was all in for Danny Jansen in this series. 4 hits in a game in our big 11-run explosion game. Huge part of that ball game, man.
Sure was, yeah.
And let's hypothetical for a second. I think this is an easy one, Jesse. If you're to take every other position player out other than catchers, just play the game of baseball with catchers, I think the Blue Jays have over 130 wins with guys like Kirk, Moreno, and Jansen. I think we easily have the best catchers. Yes, they don't always have the best power. You got Kirk, who's kind of gone south since the All-Star break. You got Moreno, who's still yet not really proven himself. But you got Danny Jansen, who is one of the better defensive catchers in the league for starters, which he really worked on that. And I think he's done a great job this year. And secondly, I mean, his power numbers are incredible. Had he not been hurt this year, I believe that Danny Jansen would be, at this point, a 16, 17, 18 home run hitter for sure, with the possibility for 20 home.
Yeah, I don't want.
Well, yeah, like he has the possibility. Here's not over though, Jesse. He has the possibility for sure to be a 20 home run catcher. Yeah, I wish he was in the lineup more. Frankly, I wish we could bat 10 guys some days, and Danny Jansen could just go in and hit. Him and Kirk can just take turns because you want them both in the lineup. Yeah. Man, it's been a while too since we talked about Danny Jansen. There are times, but we make sure when he has big games, we highlight him here because yes, there are the Vladdies of this team. There are the Teoscars of this team. There's the Bows now, but Danny Jansen, maybe one of the more unsung guys of this team. You maybe forgot him a little this year because of injuries, kind of hindered his play for a little bit. I'm not going to say Danny Jansen's back in big ways, but when we get a big series at a number 9 like that, boy, it's a treat, dude. It is nice to watch him hit dingers.
Another player who's kind of been unsung and kind of under the radar that actually had a good series and I wanted to give a little props to is Rymal Tapia. And Riley, last episode we talked about Lourdes Gurriel having his hamstring injury. He's gone to the IL for 10 days. We needed one of these outfielders, whether it's Merrifield, Tapia, or Jackie Bradley Jr. to step up. And it looks like Rymal Tapia is taking the role here. He got the first crack. He had 2 walks and a single in game 1. And in game 2, he had a 428-foot home run with an exit velocity of 108 off the bat, which is the hardest Rymal Tapia has hit a home run this year. And, he had that good stretch for a while, which is about 5 weeks or something. So we know that he's capable of this really hot play. All we need to do is to have him play well for the 10 to 14 days Lourdes Gurriel's on the shelf, and that'll work. So just a little mini thumbs up for Rymal Tapia here.
I thought that was an absolute nuke that came off the end of the bat. When you're smaller, more speedy guys, I mean, the guy's definitely not hitting the gyms for the big arms and things like that. He's a speed guy. He's a defense first guy. But when those balls come off the bat that fast from a guy of his stature, it looks absolutely incredible. Yeah, absolutely crushed it to left field, dude. And you know what? I'll give Tapia a lot of credit for the series he had because I gave you my thoughts on who would fill Lourdes' shoes. And I think my number 3 guy between him, Whit Merrifield, and JBJ, I think I took the last guy being Tapia on who I wanted to be playing. But you know what? Doesn't matter who's stepping up. It was Tapia in this series for sure. He stepped up. And yeah, if he's going to be the guy to fill in till Lourdes is healthy, then by all means, continue that hot streak, Rymal.
I just a point to Rymal Tapia's swing isn't great. There's a lot of moving parts on it, and it causes a lot of swing and miss in his game, but he really loads up on that back leg and powers through. So when he does square it up, it's a thing of beauty for Rymal Tapia. Left-handed hitters have always had some of the best swings in the game. And when Tapia connects like that, it looks aesthetically pleasing. So little thought on that. Riley, before we get into some thumbs down, Riley, you wanted to give a shout out to Ross Stripling. You did some research on him here. He had a good start. Give it to us. What do you got?
Oh, man, Ross Stripling, dude. I mean, I don't think there's a more X-Factor player for us right now. I said to you before the show, Jesse, that knock on wood, Manoah, Gosman don't feel comfortable in a big game situation. I would be so fine with Ross Stripling towing the rubber for an important game for us. He's been absolutely dynamite. It was an all-star in 2018, and his season was monstrous back then. But his walks and hits per 9 innings since then has been just phenomenal. His whip if you're to round his whip off, Jesse, I mean it's a 1.01 whip
Yeah,
this year.
that'll work.
When he was an all-star, if you round it's a 1.19 whip in 2018 when he was an all-star. Another fun fact, I also you threw in this situation. Well, Riley, what if Kevin Gausman, gets lit up early, or Manoah, and he said, would Stripling come into those games? And yeah, absolutely. We've seen Ross Stripling work at as a long relief pitcher. He did that when he was with the Dodgers. He's done it with us, but obviously right now he's a starter. Big game situation, you still want the best guy in the hill. And as of right now, statistically, we didn't know who he was, starting more games with. Whenever we looked at it, 200 career games, 100 career starts made. So he's split right down the middle.
Half, yep.
But you know what? As good as he was as a long relief pitcher, I think he is a phenomenal starting pitcher. He does get a lot of love. Does he get enough love? I don't know, because I absolutely love watching him pitch, man. Ross Stripling has been so important for this ball club this year, and I think we've won a lot of games because of it.
He's definitely like one of the comeback stories of the year for the Blue Jays, or maybe honestly might be team MVP, like a guy that's really held this team together. And his start here in Texas, where he was from, he grew up in Texas, 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. And I know I've talked about it before, Riley, but the changeup has been the big thing for Ross Stripling this year. In fact, it has the 4th best chase rate by starting pitchers for any pitch in all of baseball. The only pitches that are better at getting swings and misses than Ross Stripling's changeup is Kevin Gausman's splitter, Zach Wheeler's sinker, and Jacob deGrom's slider. And that's a hell of a company to be in from Ross Stripling.
Well, yeah, you're going up against Zach Wheeler, who is not a well-known guy in the National League by a lot of people, but he is a great pitcher. And then Kevin Gausman, we've seen him, we know what he can do, but you're talking in the same company as Jacob deGrom, who might just be, when he's healthy, one of the best arms, if not the best arm in the MLB. You're comparing Ross Stripling with some big names, and this is a guy who's not a household name, but he certainly is for our Blue Jays team this year. Watch out. Ross Stripling's on a roll too. We got guys like Boba Shett having big series and stuff. And quietly we see Ross Stripling having the best season of his career. I know I wasn't an all-star. I know we won't have the wins when all said and done this year. But if you look at his whole numbers, his fielding, independent pitching, I believe was 309.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been really good.
Just really good numbers. Doesn't strike a lot of guys out, but he has got the swings and misses, Jesse. Obviously, we've seen that, and that's if your changeup, his changeup is missing barrels of the bat because he's upsetting hitters' timing, then you can't ask for anything more. He did absolutely dynamite in this series, and he's been dynamite all year, man.
I wanted to talk about another guy now, from the positives to a guy who's been kind of disappointing, and we got to talk about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. again. And Riley, I know we've talked a lot about, some people on Twitter have been calling him Vladimir Groundout Jr., because that's all he's been doing is hitting the ball on the ground. We've talked about a lot, and yes, the ground ball rate is still high. He had, I think, 4 more groundouts in this series. But Riley, I want to talk more about his swing decisions, kind of going through the thing that Boba Shett went through earlier in this year. He's just not swinging at pitches that he can do damage with. And the main culprit is, I think pitchers have figured this out now. They're throwing a lot of pitches in on his hands that when he does make contact, like his bat speed is so quick, right? He can still turn and he can still get to these. But when he does make contact with them, when they're so far in, he's getting soft ground balls, or he swings and missing them, or he's fouling off, Riley. And Vladdy's chase rate on the season is at 33%, and over the last week, it's upwards of 41%, Riley. So Vladdy's so damn good. When he's swinging at pitches he can destroy, because he still hits the ball harder than anybody else in baseball, and he can absolutely mash when he puts them in the air. He just needs to get better at swinging at the right pitches. And until we see that, we're not going to see the elite guy out of Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
No, we certainly have not got the elite guy in Vlad Jr. I think that's funny though, Vlad Groundout Jr. because he drives the ball right into the ground, man, and it is frustrating to watch. No, I myself could not do better than Vlad Jr. I think he has the potential to be one of the best power hitters in the game.
Of course.
But it's hard. But Jesse, as you know, baseballs don't go underground, and you can't hit home runs of negative launch angles, right? That's kind of what's been going on here. So it kind of eliminates, yes, he hits a lot of hard singles, but the chance for him to hit big slug and doubles off the wall, or to put a 425-foot bomb into the seats, kind of doesn't happen when he's not getting his swings. And yeah, I like those pitches. I can pretty much close my eyes and tell you what a Vlad home run looks like. It's a little out front of the plate, not too outside, kind of middle low, and he's going to turn on that and absolutely drive it up. But the pitch is up in the zone, maybe closer to the hands. Yeah, he doesn't seem to be getting a lot of good solid contact even on those, Jesse. And we know Vladdy's a guy who can get wood on it. So yeah, it goes back to what we said the last couple episodes about Vlad. It's almost like the approach has got to change, some tinkering with the swing. I don't know. I'm not going to tell Vlad Jr. how to swing the bat, man. Hey, we know he's done it before. We know that stuff can change, but when is it going to change? Let's hope quite soon.
Yeah, you'd like to see him get hot for the playoffs because Vladdy is so good that he can single-handedly win a series for you. So let's keep an eye on that going forward. Riley, we are now 50 games into John Schneider's tenure as manager, and he has a record of 31-19. And just real quick, I just wanted you to give what your thoughts are now 50 games into John Schneider's major league career.
I honestly, you'd think after 50 games that you should be able to give, like a pretty in-depth assessment. My assessment is like he's still a rookie manager, and he's managing a team that almost runs itself most of the time. You're dealing with you know who, if everyone's fully rested, you know who your starters are going to be basically. He has changed the batting order a couple times. I mean, our bullpens I think our bullpen's been great. I think our bullpen this year, our bullpen this year has been way better than years past, man. I obviously don't have the numbers in front of you, but I'm just telling you, you feel the same way. Our bullpen has been great. So for him to call to the bullpen and say, I want Pop up, I want Bass up, I want Mays up, those are easy phone calls to make. His wheels aren't spinning enough. It's an easy job. Now, had John Schneider gone and coached a team like the Royals, the Athletics, the Tigers, I think that would be a tougher challenge for him. We're so good, man. John Schneider managed some of these guys in the minor leagues. I think that helps a lot. I think that we have the right veteran presence on the team via guys like George Springer. I think Gosman brings a good presence. Even our younger guys, I think that guys like Manoah are also leaders. The team pretty much runs itself.
Right.
And from my point of view, I'm not in the clubhouse. I don't know what's said, but John Schneider's he's got an easy job right now, and he's definitely not messing up the chemistry that's there. So whatever he's doing, Jesse, whether that be the strong, silent guy or the pump me up kind of guy, I don't know what he's like behind closed doors, but he's doing the right things, Jesse. He's doing the right things. This team is winning ball games, and that's what matters right now.
It's hard for a manager to really help add wins to your team, but a manager can sink you. And as long as a manager isn't sinking you, which John Schneider hasn't, I'd say he's a good manager. I like how he's not afraid to mix up the lineup. Like, he's not set into their lineup roles like Charlie Montoya was every time. If you're slumping, he might move you down a spot. If you're hitting well, he might move you up. I'd like that. I also have noticed the Blue Jays have been a little more aggressive on the base pass. They've stolen 25 bases and have been caught 13 times since Schneider took over, compared to 33 and 16 during Montoya's tenure. So I don't know what that means, if it means anything at all, but just a note I took away from that.
Yeah, that's fine. We have been more aggressive. I don't think I'm in love with some of the steal choices this year, but that's up for discussion too, because at the end of the day, I think we got guys who run the base as well, but I don't really think we have any elite base stealers. I think at one point you could say Whit Merrifield was the best base stealer, career-wise, but that has gone by the wayside. We know Springer's not that quick, but hey, every other aspect of the game, especially pitching, I am super happy with, and I do love the little shifts in lineups. Guys like Matt Chapman has batted fifth a couple times. We've seen in the last few weeks. Yeah, exactly. Like it's nice to see those changes. Hey, man, I can't say we weren't broken. We need a little bit of fixing, and I think John Snyder's done a pretty good job at making this work the last few weeks.
All right, some other notes. We'd like to congratulate Teoscar Hernandez and his wife, Jennifer, who just gave birth to their son, Julian. Teoscar is back from the paternity list, and as we mentioned last episode, Riley, dad strength is a real thing, and he showed it here in the first game, 2 for 4 with an RBI double in his first game back. I would put smart money on Teoscar Hernandez going on a run here going forward. Another note I saw, Santiago Espinal has really struggled this year when he's been asked to lay down a bunt. He had another opportunity in game 1 of this series, and he hit it right to the first baseman. And you'd really like your, I know you like small ball, Riley. I know you're a big fan, but you would like it if your kind of weaker hitting middle infielders are able to get down a bunt and play some situational baseball. And Tim Meza fielded a ground ball that went off his foot into his glove and threw it to first. Now, that doesn't really mean anything. I just thought it was really cool and wanted to mention it here. So any quick takeaways quickly on those three things?
That might be one of my favorite things, Jesse. A second baseman, usually if I'm to project a lineup, my third baseman, first baseman, and right fielder are probably batting 3, 4, 5 for me. My second baseman or my catcher are batting in the 9th spot. And more than likely, the guy who's not batting 9th is in the 8 hole. So, yeah, I absolutely love my less powerful middle infielders to be able to lay down bunts, to be able to run the base as well. I wouldn't classify Espinal have an elite speed by any means. So, yeah, I believe that he should be able to lay down a bunt. Also, if he was a lefty bat too, I do like my 9 or 1 hitter, maybe even both, to be a left-handed bat. I think that's important too. We know where we stand with with this right-handed dominant team. Maybe see Tapia lay down some sack bunts. I know the situation cried for a bunt. Espinal couldn't get the job done, but yeah, we know that Espinal is not going to be by any means, a complete 5-tool guy. It's not that bunting is even a tool. He's kind of slowed down a bit, but yeah, it would be nice, to get when you're asked to bunt. We know he's not going to probably launch one in the seats, but yeah, good take though, Jesse. I definitely feel you on that one. A little bit of a struggle at the dish for Espinal to lay down a bunt.
All right, I want to touch on the other pitching performance in this series real quick here. Gosman went 5 1/3, 8 hits, 5 earned runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. Fangraphs gave him a game score of 35, which is his 5th worst start of the season, his worst on the road he's had this season. But strikeouts still incredible, 19 swinging strikes on 101 pitches. And Yusei Kikuchi pitched again. And Riley, I know he wasn't good in game 3 of this series, but his spin rates were up again. And I know he gave up a 2-run home run and left some damage on base that Zach Pop had to clean up, but he still had 5 swings and misses on 18 pitches. And I was looking up more of Kikuchi to try to figure out what's going on, Riley. He actually leads all American League pitchers in defensive runs saved. So there's a real chance Yusei Kikuchi wins a Gold Glove award this year. And I think that might surprise you coming into the season.
Yeah, Greg Maddux won over 10 Gold Glove awards, and he was much better than Yusei Kikuchi's numbers. Hey, I'm all in love with guys winning Gold Gloves, but he'll be about 300th in Cy Young voting this year. So I don't know what. I get what you're saying, Jesse. I love that for him. I know you're a big Yusei Kikuchi guy, and I was a real big hope for him. But yeah, Jesse, he gave up a nuke. The spin rate that I was watching is how fast his neck turned around when he watched the ball leave the yard. Like, he left a mess for our guy Zach Pop and pretty much screwed Zach Pop's line score. I thought you were going to come on here and want to give Pop a thumbs down because he didn't have the best outing either, because I thought that Kikuchi left him a bad mess. It was just that game was not a good chain how that occurred, Jesse. But anyways, stuff happens.
I still believe. Riley, Major League Baseball is coming up with some new rules for the 2023 season. And real quick here, I wanted to get your thoughts on it. But for those of you who don't know, Major League Baseball will be instituting a pitch clock starting next year. They've tested this out in the minors. There are some exceptions, but the majority of minor league people seem to like it. It'll be 15 seconds from the time the pitcher gets the ball till the time he has to start his next pitch with no one on base, and it'll be 20 seconds if there's a runner on base. Some fine rules here. The catcher must be in position with at least 10 seconds left on the clock, and the batter must be ready to hit with 8 seconds left on the clock. And balls and strikes may be awarded in either direction for anyone who disagrees with that rule. And in AAA, it's sped up the game, which is what Major League Baseball wants to accomplish. Average game time there was about 2 hours, 43 minutes, where in Major League Baseball, it's currently 3 hours and 6 minutes. So 30 seconds or less, Riley. Quick thoughts on the pitch clock?
The pitch clock, I am a fan of the slow pace of the game. I think it's the game within the game, the beauty in the game, to speed the game up. I just hope it doesn't really affect performance a whole lot, if you know what I mean. Like, a lot of people, like the whole, stepping out, Nomar Garcia-Parra, just in the batting gloves, things like that. There's pitchers who take a long time between them. There's like guys like Mark Burley who already was playing by this rule when he was pitching. Yeah. It's one of those things. Personally, I don't know if I'll notice it, but I had no problem with the way that the pace of the game already is. But sure, Jesse, I'm sure I'll enjoy it just the same. Yeah,
we'll talk about it more throughout the offseason, I'm sure. Riley, shift band. 2 fielders will have to be on each side of second base with both feet on the infield dirt, so we can say goodbye to the 4-man outfield and the 5-man infield. It'll probably help BABIP, and I think, Riley, it'll make the need for very, very good defensive middle infielders again, and will help a guy like Kevin Biggio, for example, get more hits to get through there.
I absolutely love this, Jesse. Baseball is back to what I remember it. We're not stacking 5 guys in the same spot of the field. We're playing like an actual baseball diamond now. I said before the show, and yeah, I'm big on the Albert Pujols watch. The guy used to hit in the 330s for batting average. He can't do that when there's 5 guys standing on the left side. I like if you can hit for average and power and get balls through the gaps where you learn how to play baseball as a kid. Like, yeah, I know it's for the game. Yeah, we got smart and we decided, hey, well, this guy has a tendency to hit it here 68% of the time, so we're going to put 4 fielders on that side.
Yeah, I think that's smart.
Well, it is certainly smart, but it's I don't know. I got my own thought about it. I'm a traditionalist, Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do like that they are playing with baseball gloves. I'm not that old school, but I am old school in the way that a lot of things. If I was to have it my way, we're in 1997 right now playing baseball, and I know that the rule's not changed. I'm going to slide this in real quick. The rule they should have addressed is the stupid catcher rule with the plate block and stuff. That's a crisis. I know we benefited from it, but the league's got to figure it out. We'll get more into that in another episode because I have a lot to say about that. But Jesse, tell me about the last rule change, please.
Yeah, I'm going to run through this quick. Bases are going to be a little bigger. They're going from 15 inches to 18 inches. The hopes to prevent injuries and to make it easier to steal bases. Also, pickoff attempts are going to be a thing now. So a pitcher's only allowed to attempt to pick off a runner twice. If they try a third time and they are unsuccessful, the pitcher will automatically be charged with the balk. So, we'll talk about that in spring training and in the offseason as we go. But, Riley, we have to move on here, and we have to talk about the big series that's coming up against the Tampa Bay Rays. The Jays are half a game behind them, so the outcome of this series could go a long way to determining where we stand in the playoffs. It's a 5-game series against Tampa, including a doubleheader on Tuesday. And, Riley, I mean, the starting pitchers aren't put out yet, but you got to assume all 4 of the Blue Jays' big starters plus a 5th one somewhere is going to be coming in there. How do you think we're going to do against the Rays?
We said that the Baltimore series is important. I think 5 games is really important too. It's a series we got to take control of early on. Today, yeah, we were a little bit lackluster with the bats. Let's be honest with each other and say, yeah, we didn't swing the bats well in game 3. And I'm not saying we're going to go out there and score 11 runs in games 1 and 2. But if we split it down the middle and put up 5 runs and then 6 runs or 6 runs and then 5, something like that, I would like a game where we don't leave runners on base. I mean, obviously that's been a big thing this year. We have left runners on base, guys not hitting with runners in scoring position. I think that's going to be really important for this. I'm very confident with our bullpen. We didn't give him a thumbs up, but I thought Jordan Romano pitched great. He kind of deserves some love because he's the American League leader in saves, which I think is great. I hope he holds that. Whether he wins a Relief Man of the Year award is yet to be determined. Obviously, I think he's having a great year though, but this is a series where we got to save our arms. If our game starters from games 1 and 2 can go the distance, let's do that. We got to get on them early and tire out their bullpen if we can get through their starters, and I think we do that. We have the bats to do that in this lineup.
For what it's worth, Tampa gave up 10 runs to the Yankees today in the first 2 innings, so their bullpen is being used pretty heavily in the game today. But the Blue Jays also had a bullpen day today, so it's very much the same, and they're probably on even keel footing there. Also, the Rays are going to get Shane McClanahan back in this series, probably closer to Thursday. Maybe he lines up with Manoah later in the week. So it's going to be a battle, Riley. Lots to watch for. It's going to be stressful. I know we're going to have a lot to talk about. I think we win 3 out of the 5, but part of me wants to say I think we only win 2 out of the 5. Either way, as long as we don't get swept, I think we're in a good spot.
I think there's no way we get swept. I think there's no way we sweep. I think you're absolutely right. My heart tells me we're going to take 3 games. After the road trip, my brain kind of tells me that we're only going to win 2. I think they're close. I think that we're going to win 3 of those. Telling me, man, that we only win 2 of them. I'll agree with you on that. But honestly, it's going to be a tough series. Like I said, we got to get on them early. We got to expose their starters and get through their bullpen and chew them right up, man. It's going to be really important. And we, like I said, man, we got to get on the sticks early. And yeah, I'd like to say we win 3-2, Jesse. There's no way we sweep them. There's no way we're going to get swept. 5-game series, anything can happen, man. It's big.
I agree. There's going to be lots to talk about on our next episode here, but that'll do it for our episode here today. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. Please leave us a 5-star review and like and subscribe and follow us on all those social media platforms. We'll be back to discuss the Rays series on Sunday, but midweek on Thursday. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we get out of here today?
No, if it does so happen to be McClanahan and Manoah, definitely tune into that game. We got 2 of the best young starters in all of MLB. These guys will be fighting for a Cy Young for years to come, man. And I can't wait. 5 games, a lot of baseball going on, Jesse. I know you're excited. I'm excited. Let's go Blue Jays. We got a good spot in the wild card, man, but hey, it ain't over yet.
Let's get it done and let's go. We'll see you next week, guys.
Thanks, guys.